All-consuming abyssal void. Every nuclear device on our planet fire, water, lack of air, too much air, mutilation, all nothing to Inspector Gadget. An organism beyond life itself that compared to any of Earth's most evolved and unkillable creatures looks like a god. But why? What makes Inspector Gadget or anything on Earth unkillable, immortal, or just really strong? What is the science behind evolving to survive the literal vacuum of space? And can anything that kills these guys kill Inspector Gadget? Let me explain. Okay, before we get into the crazy things our cyborg can survive and what could possibly kill him, I want to get a few things out first. The main thing being, you don't really need to know much about Inspector Gadget to understand this video, and really if you know the 80s show, the live-action movies, or even the 2015 reboot, it won't matter much. The other big thing is this video is not a power scaling video or a theory on a robot detective. No, it's a video on the science of surviving incredibly dangerous things, and how Inspector Gadget is really good at that. Now, the basic abilities of our cyborg are pretty simple. He can detach his limbs and extend them from his body, and has a plethora of weapons and gadgets, all being very durable. The guy technically has a backstory, but it changes a lot and really isn't super important, but I personally like the one where he becomes a cyborg after tripping on a banana peel. Speaking of that, the guy is a cyborg, yes, but that really is a lie or a half-truth. Technically, he isn't a robot since he was a real man who was rebuilt after some horrible accident, but what part of him is organic or human is left to question, as his entire body is for sure not organic. He has no organs, it seems, and to be honest, the best thing we can say that makes him human or organic is his consciousness and brain, but even that is most likely a copy of the original. This of course makes me question if you even call him an organism or alive in the first place, since he's not a fully carbon creature nor can he reproduce, but he does have organic elements just in the form of consciousness, and really all of that is out of the scope of my silly science YouTube video on Inspector Gadget. And with that, let's get to killing. This is a cockroach. While on the surface it's just an annoying bug, the guy is actually incredibly good at surviving things. You probably heard it before, these little guys can somehow survive nuclear bombs and are incredibly radioactive, but that's not all. They can literally be decapitated and live up to 1 week without a head. That's terrifying. They also can absorb 6 to 15 times the human lethal dose of radiation, which while not a nuclear bomb since it has the extra blast and heat and shockwave, is still incredibly impressive. They also can live without food for a month and can be fully submerged for 30 minutes at that size. Now, Inspector Gadget can do all these things, of course, but to figure out how, we should first solve how the cockroach can. See, cockroaches don't breathe through their mouths, instead they breathe through spiracles, tiny holes along their body, meaning a head is not that crazy when they can just breathe through their arms and torso. They also have a very slow cell division, and that's important because radiation kills by damaging your cells rapidly, which causes them to divide also rapidly. But when cockroaches can only do that about once a week, so the radiation can't force it, it takes way more to do anything. And moving to Inspector Gadget, he can have a similar system. See, his nervous system is a computer network that is divided across his entire body. It would not just sit in his head. He's been seen to detach body parts and keep running all the time, including his head, so why would cutting it off do anything? Now, with all that, what can kill a cockroach? Well, boric acid, as it physically erodes the chitin exoskeleton, and then after that destroys the digestive tract. The exoskeleton is one of the whole reasons these guys are so unkillable, so of course something able to melt through it is gonna be bad. Except for Inspector Gadget, whose exoskeleton is made of titanium and steel, which is a melting point of 3034 Fahrenheit, and is incredibly resistant to corrosion through acids, meaning Inspector Gadget ain't got nothing to worry about. But that is not nearly as cool as our next organism, a literal bacteria that is way harder to kill, and while just maybe its way of being taken out can work against our detective. Let me explain. Okay, our next organism is a mouthful being, I am not gonna try to pronounce that. Thankfully, it has another name in science being the best name in all of biology, Conan the bacterium. Conan can survive 1 million rads of radiation, whereas you and Mobley can only survive about 1,000. reason. This is because their DNA can be shattered into hundreds of fragments by the radiation and still be fine because it resembles the entire genome back together in hours. Another reason the radiation doesn't destroy them is they can carry multiple copies of their genome, basically using them as backups so the radiation would need to destroy every single one to kill it. Now, how exactly does this connect to Inspector Gadget? Well, Gadget has his own backup genome in the form of his own operating system being copied and stored elsewhere. Something we know is it's been destroyed, memory wiped, and whatnot, but then rebuilt or brought back by using what in the biological sense basically is a backup genome. So by design, something like a punch of radiation destroying his body doesn't matter, as the one thing that makes him alive and an organism is infinite, being his consciousness. But all of that doesn't make Conan invincible. No, extreme and sustained heat, as anything above 50 Celsius or 120 Fahrenheit, will begin to degrade its proteins. Now for Gadget, this obviously again isn't gonna matter, as his melting point is insanely high, and his proteins, if he has any, are gonna be housed inside a deep insulated metal body. But again, there's no real proof of this guy having cells, or proteins, or organs, which again makes me wonder if he even is organic. But for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna say he is, because this is a silly thought experiment, really, and the show says he's a cyborg, so something about him has to be alive. But that thing is still not dead, so maybe we'll find better luck in our next animal, the wood frog. Let me explain. Scaling upwards from bacteria to the natural animal, we have the wood frog, which can be frozen up to negative 18 Celsius or negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit for literally 7 months. Now, why is this? Well, you see, as the temperature drops, the frog's liver dumps a massive amount of glucose into the bloodstream, which acts as basically an organic all-natural antifreeze, using the same system as well antifreeze in your car. Now, this glucose is important as ice forms in the space between cells, not inside them, meaning the glucose can keep the interior of each cell all okay, while the exterior freezes solid. Now, this does mean on a quantum level the frog is dead for literal months, but they have a whole system that keeps their body able and unfrozen to jump back in a horrifying miracle of life. You may be asking, how does Inspector Gadget do all this? Well, his similar ability comes in because his electronic interface, the thing he's running on, doesn't exactly require liquid water to function, meaning there isn't water inside him to freeze, nor blood or even cells. He also can be easily powered down and restarted, meaning if he does freeze, he's okay when unfrozen. Now, there is a way to actually kill the wood frog, and it's quite simple. See, when I gave the numbers for how long and how far it can freeze, there was a reason. The frog cannot go longer than 7 months, nor can it freeze past negative 4 Fahrenheit. And something not super important to Gadget, but when frozen, you're vulnerable to predators, so all it takes is really one animal to kill the frog. Thankfully, neither of these things are an issue, since Gadget, again, can be rebuilt, survive way colder temperatures, and overall defeats any issue our organic life is gonna have. This is, to be honest, a running theme of this entire video, that no matter what you throw at Gadget, he will survive, because in the end of the day, he isn't organic. He's barely alive in any scientific sense, and that is his greatest strength, his own evolutionary ability. But I do think you can still kill him. You just have to get creative. Now, before we continue, I want to peel back the curtain for you, the audience. See, these videos are really just my excuse to talk about science on the internet. Using things we all grew up with is an easy way to get into it. Because whether it's if you can kill Inspector Gadget, or the weird power suits of Wildcrats, they all have underlining cool science to teach. So if you enjoy that, please subscribe and just finish the video. It helps out a lot. Either way, back to the horrors. Before we get into our final method, if nothing else works, I have one last organism, and honestly, it's the craziest one, with the most insane abilities, and it may be the secret to killing our cyborg detective, the water bear, in science the tardigrade. This is an organism that can survive the vacuum of space, temperatures between negative 457 to 302 Fahrenheit, radiation 1,000 times what kills you, and 30 years without touching a single drop of moisture, let alone water. This thing is, simply put, a demon, and the science is kinda crazy. See, it uses something called cryptobias, which shuts down all biological processes, entering a state of near death, where metabolism is at of 0.01% of normal levels, and requires no biological needs. It also has a unique to itself protein that suppresses damage, physically wrapping around its DNA like a metal bubble wrap, able to block radiation from even striking it. Scientists have found it so powerful that when transplanting this protein into human cells, they they become radiation resistant. And finally, to solve the water problem, it simply has sugars inside the body that replace the need for it. All of this, though, is nothing to Inspector Gadget, who again has no DNA to destroy, no need for air nor care for temperature, and why would he need water? This is simply put not a man. He's a titanium block carved in the shape of one, with engineered abilities to fight off whatever we throw at him that I have tried to compare to life. And in my opinion, the only way to kill him is to use what kills not all life, but all matter. A black hole. Black holes. These are celestial bodies of emptiness, darkness, and death. They consume anything that goes inside them, and that should include Inspector Gadget. See, to truly understand this section, I'm gonna give you a little lesson on the mechanics of a black hole, because I promised you, you definitely don't understand how they really work. Space, time, and gravity. These are the core three mechanics of the universe, really, and they play a big part in what a black hole is, how they work, and how you can possibly survive one. More on that later. See, space isn't a fixed thing, and time doesn't move at the same speed for everyone everywhere. Now, in short, they are relative and reflective of one another. Matter bends space, and bend space tells matter how to move. Basically, imagine you're an almighty space god placing a bunch of stars and planets in a space-themed stage. The stage is gonna end up sagging underneath them, and basically with the warps and dips it experiences to the bodies around it, it will create something called gravity. Now, black holes are interesting here. They don't bend the stage like a planet or star. They act more like a trapdoor, having so much concentrated mass in such a tiny region that they warp the usual rules I've given around them. This all makes me very worried for Inspector Gadget. Now, where exactly do black holes come from? Because they don't start out as black holes. No, they're born from extremely massive dying stars. See, in the final moments of these stars, its core is going to collapse inwards at such an insane speed, it's a quarter of the speed of light. In this process, so much mass will get squeezed in such a tiny space that the star breaks our magic cosmic stage, turning into a black hole. To put this in perspective, a black hole with 10 times the mass of the sun would only be about 37 miles wide. And when you look directly into one, you're gonna see nothing. Pure black abyss. These stars and planets stopping is not even light can escape. There is no information in the universe strong enough or fast enough to escape the all-consuming power of the event horizon, the shell around the black abyss. And this all matters for a few reasons, one being time. See, like I said before, time is not a fixed state, or more how it moves is affected by gravity. The stronger the gravity, the slower time will pass, and near a black hole, gravity is kinda crazy. So while yes, your internal clock is ticking just like you're used to, the universe outside the black hole is moving for eons. This all means if Inspector Gadget somehow survives the horizon, his backup copies of his human brain are long dead along with his planet, taking out one of his greatest abilities. So really, there's only one question left. One black hole versus one Inspector Gadget. Who wins? Yeah, it's the black hole, no shit. This really shouldn't be shocking. Well, yes, Inspector Gadget is crazy on Earth's terms. This is an all-consuming, basically eldritch god that, again, light can't escape, so there is no way a robot detective made of normal metals and some stretching arms is gonna escape the spaghettification that awaits him. But I do have an idea. A horrible, stupid idea, but using it, there is a technical way Inspector Gadget and his unnatural scientific breaking stupidity can survive a black hole. See, there's a problem with the scientific community that is unsolved, but it has a technical consensus. See, in quantum mechanics, there is a law called unitarity. Basically, that information is God and cannot be created nor destroyed. This includes under black holes. But according to Hawking's original 1974 theory, a black hole is going to slowly evaporate and eventually be gone. But what happens to the information? Well, according to him, it's also gone. But these two concepts cannot exist with one another. Now, of course, my silly YouTube video is not solving it, but there is a current near accepted idea to the point Hawking himself has conceded to it. The information, like I said, is God, and the radiation a black hole emits as it evaporates will hold the information it took in, scramble beyond a doubt, but still preserved and put back in our universe. This means the information of Inspector Gadget can survive, and as we define, the only part of him that is human, that is biological and alive, is the consciousness, the information inside himself. So technically, over the tens of Googles of years it takes for our black hole to evaporate, he will be preserved in his truest form, information. If you liked this video, I'm sure you liked this one covering the horrors of using abilities of crazy cool animals without the defenses, or this playlist with all my wonderful science content. Either way, bye!